Wonderful morning to us, Wiser Nation. Blessed day. Thank you all so much for your kind words. Thank you all so much for making the sacrifice to be up at 6 to be here. I know that not everybody is an early riser. I am not. I typically do not wake up before 6. Many days I wake up just maybe before 7. So I understand the sacrifice and He will strengthen us through. Why did we decide to have Wiser early in the morning? I felt it was just a nudge. It was not like, oh, I heard from the Lord. It's a great day to start, a great way to start the day, right? Some of the things you would hear in the morning will guide your day. And that was why we decided this morning to do it in the mornings. I think we also tried having an evening session in that first year. We had a few evening sessions. We stuck with the morning. When I saw Joyce mention where she was logging in from, I was like, oh, it'd be nice to know where others are logging in from. Good morning, everybody. So you can decide to put in the city or the country just to know. It's nice to know. Good morning, everyone. I'm so delighted and I'm always so honored to have you. You've sent me several personal messages yesterday, especially. I had the highest number of personal messages yesterday. Oh, what am I showing on the screen? The highest number of personal messages yesterday, and I was very encouraged and very grateful. And then some people came with a few questions, and one of the recurring questions, not just from yesterday, but from many years, centers around what happens when your mind is focused on one thing, but people around you have several opinions that are contrary to what you want to do. What do you do? So I would just respond to that first by sharing an experience of mine. I was in primary 4. I was 8 years old in primary 4 when I read a book called Black Beauty. I don't know how many of us have read it. It's I think it was written in the 1800s, 1877 or 1870 something. It was a big gray book. We had it in our library in the house, and I as usual, I was always very drawn to novels, especially even till date, especially if they have large fonts and good spacing, they would get me. So I began to read Black Beauty, and I'm just telling it the way I remember. I don't know whether it was Black Beauty himself or another horse, but one of the horses, Black Beauty was a horse. One of the horses had to be on a racetrack, was now made a racehorse. And I think the first time he started running, he would get anxious, he would get scared. He was strong, but he would get scared and not do it right. And now, please, if you know the story better, correct me, but this is the version I remember. Somebody was brought onto the farm to see why Black Beauty wasn't doing well. And it was discovered that they hadn't put on his blinders. So for a racehorse to succeed, you had to wear these blinders, these things on the side of your eyes that didn't allow you see what was happening on the lanes of other horses. The anxiety came from when the horse was able to see what was going on beside him. The more he had a tunnel vision, the easier it was for him to succeed as a racehorse. I know I was 8, but what I took away from that at that young age was to listen to me first. Yes, at some point it will make you seem stubborn, unruly, because at some point when your parents tell you to do something, and I know my mom is listening right now, maybe my dad is also there. When your parents ask you to do something and you listen to you first, at that time it makes you, stubborn. But when it comes to life now, you see, many of those traits that make us stubborn children are the same traits that make us gritty, give us grit as adults. When life happens and all sorts of opinions are flying around you, guess what you would have become used to doing? We'd have become used to listening to you first. The caveat there is to ensure that what you are saying to yourself is wise, is in line with what God has for you, is in line with what the laws of the universe would advise, is in line with what is right, so that you are not too bothered about what people say. You are more concerned about the truth that you have been able to seek and apply. And it becomes second nature that you are no longer worried about what people say. You are more concerned about the source of what you have within you. Please, if this makes sense, say makes sense. That's why the habit, for example, of studying Proverbs, the habit of studying books that elevate your mind, the habit of understanding not just Proverbs, but the Word of God for your benefit first, for your feeding, for your mind's expansion is so important, so that when you sit and you agree with Father, Son, Holy Ghost, and yourself that this is your direction, you put on your blinders. And I dare add, you also wear your earplugs. You know how sometimes you want to talk to someone, and because they have this in their ears, you talk to them, and afterwards, oh yeah, oh yes, you say? There were times in my life where I put that thing in my ear. I wasn't listening to anything, but I just didn't want anybody to talk to me, and so I put it there at that time, so that when you want to talk to me, I'll pretend like, oh yeah, oh okay, I've done it. No, gosh, I've done it a number of times. Because sometimes you need to cut the sounds out and stick with what it is that you believe. You can get to a point where you have stayed with the word, with your vision, with your dreams so much that you are so filled with them that when people around you try to dissuade you, you're not even angry with them. You know that many times they're saying or doing it out of love. So you would just say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. If they knew better, they would advise better. I know they love me, and so I'm not even upset with them. And then when they're doing it out of spite, guess what? It's the same thing. Lord, I forgive them. If they had known, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. So if they had known, they wouldn't be trying to bury me right now, because they don't know I'm a seed. And when you bury a seed, does it die or does it die? I said, except the corn of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it abides alone. It dies to the world, and then it begins to grow and flourish. So you get so consumed, so illuminated by what you have sat with, that when the negative, and I put negative in parentheses because, or well, in quotes, because negative is relative. It might not be negative like a bad thing. It might just be negative to you. So you say you want to be a singer, and they say, no, go and follow your engineering degree. You studied engineering. So being an engineer is not a negative thing, but it comes off as negative to you at that moment because you're trying to be a singer, if you understand me. So even when they're trying to give you the negative advice, you will just love them and say thank you. And then you will now throw a challenge and say, give me 5 years. If I don't do well in my singing, I'll drop it and come back to be an engineer. Can we have a deal? You throw a challenge. And they say, okay, 5 years now, we'll be waiting. And then you go and work hard. Work hard. And when there's some similitude of success in year 2 or year 3 or even year 1, they'll say, okay. And by year 5, when you have one major break, they go, oh, we always knew you would make us proud. Thank you all. I see your responses coming in from Abuja, from Southwest Nigeria, from Port Harcourt, Makurdi, Oka, Lagos. I'm so encouraged. Onitsha, Abuja, Lagos, Okigwe. Oh, this is amazing. Niger State. Wow. Ibadan. Yeah, those are the ones I've seen so far. So let's jump into the chapter for this morning. Good morning, everywhere. Blinders and earplugs. Yes. Ibokada. Wonderful. Ibokoda. That's where there is an oil installation, right? Oil and gas installation, I think. Amazing. Port Harcourt, Asaba. Edo State. Yola. This is encouraging to see the spread from Calabar. Thank you all. Today is chapter 5 of the book of Proverbs, and I'm delighted to be sharing. So let's jump into it. Chapter 5. Are we ready? Dear friend, pay close attention to this, my wisdom. Listen very closely to the way I see it. Then you'll acquire a taste for good sense. What I tell you, I beg your pardon, will keep you out of trouble. We are friends, and therefore he is giving us advice. Listen to this very particular wisdom. Wisdom will cause you to acquire a taste for good sense. You would want to always ask, is this a good way? Is this a better way? Can there be more? Wisdom causes us to have desire for good. So it's a good place to stay. It's a good place to be. The lips of a seductive woman are oh so sweet. Her soft words are oh so smooth. But it won't be long before she's gravel in your mouth, a pain in your gut, wound in your heart. She's dancing down the perfumed path to death. She's headed straight for hell, taking you with her. She hasn't a clue about real life, about who she is or where she's going. I remember when Coach Just Ibe was here with us on day 2, and she was saying, oh, the seductive woman is not necessarily a woman trying to seduce you. It could be almost anything and anyone who is trying to dissuade you from the path that you know is correct, including the pleasures of life that will want to take you away from your goals. Oh, I want to study 1 hour every morning. And the pleasures of life, like sleep, sleep is not a bad thing. It can only be distracting when it comes in the way of what you had already planned to do. The pleasures of life, like television, series, the pleasures of life, like a phone call to a friend that you could speak to at another time, the pleasures of life that would seduce you. Oh, you can read, but who reading it? Your mates are sorting themselves. So why do you want to stress? Who would even reward you? After all, you put in your best, you study so hard, and then those people will even sort, and then will get better mark. So she's seducing you down the perfumed path to death. Wisdom is saying, don't listen to her. Don't go her way. Don't listen to her. Give me a moment, please. Don't listen to her. Don't go her way. Verses 7 to 14. So my friend, listen closely. Don't treat my words casually. Keep your distance from such a woman. Absolutely stay out of her neighborhood. This is exam season for you, and you are tempted by television. That's the time not to subscribe to your Netflix and your DSTV. That's the time to uninstall the app. Not forever, but for a season. And I'm just using some of the very easy things that get us the gram time. You get on Instagram and you actually desire or decide to be there for 5 minutes. You look down And by the time you look up, 1 hour, 45 minutes gone. I want to really appreciate Nancy, my assistant Nancy. Nancy has saved me Instagram time because Nancy does the posting on Instagram. Nancy does the posting on Facebook. There are times I can go 5 days without being on the gram, but all the content is dropped because we have our conversations. We know what should be said. I record the videos where necessary. She'll show me what and what will be posted. Okay, adjust this, adjust that. And I haven't deleted the app in a long time now because I have so much better control. So much better control. But there were times where when I had to delete the app because I just felt, Joyce, by the time you just look, you say, let me just look at how they locked that girl's hair, because I like to look at a lot of dreadlocks. Let me even just see how they locked her hair. And I will just look at one. Before you know it, I've looked at 2,000 locks, all the same thing, but it's sweeting me. They sweet me. You know what I mean? And that is time that I could have been doing something else. So Nancy, I thank you so very kindly. Let me speak like my late mentor, RDJ. I thank you so kindly for taking that, responding to the DMs. Once in a while I come in. Yet recently, when was that? Sometime in October? The whole week I wasn't on online at all. So there are times when people say, oh, I sent you a message, or I chatted with you in the DM, and I go, but it really wasn't me. In my mind, I'm like, that must have been Nancy. And then there are times that it's me, and I go, So Nancy, please, whenever you're chatting with somebody, identify yourself that it is Nancy. So when they see me, we will not go. It takes you down a rabbit hole sometimes, yes. And it's not just Instagram. It's other things that we indulge. So everyone knows their indulgences. Wisdom is saying, be careful, look out for it. Don't not acknowledge it. Acknowledge it so that you will not squander your wonderful life, to waste your precious life among the hard-hearted, those who don't have. The algorithm doesn't care for you. The algorithm has one purpose: to keep you around the things that the algorithm believes you want to see. So if you open my Instagram, that page, what do you call that search page? That something page. You just see a lot of dreadlocks. The algorithm wants me to keep staying here looking at dreadlocks and exercise plans and exercise flow. That's hard, man. Don't waste your precious life. Why should you allow strangers take advantage of you? Why be exploited by those who care nothing for you? You don't want to end your life full of regrets, nothing but thin and bones, saying, oh, why didn't I do what they told me? Why did I reject a disciplined life? Why didn't I listen to my mentors or take my teachers seriously? My life is ruined. That will not be any of us. I haven't one blessed thing to show for my life. No. We will study when we should study, because we will practice the habit of discipline painfully and painstakingly, and there are days we will cry. Then we will learn the art of scheduling. Oh, I would put on my app the timer, 30 minutes per day. And once it shows me you've been here 30 minutes, for those of us who use that on the gram, you go to your settings and you set the amount of time maximum. So when you've been here 30 minutes, it will show you that, it will just bring that clock out and say you've spent 30 minutes today. You know that immediately, bam, we're done. Or it is that book you want to indulge, that novel. There's nothing wrong with a novel. It's just that it might be taken into the time that you were supposed to make your marketing calls, your sales calls. You had written that you will spend 1 hour per day on sales calls, but that's the time that one book is sweeting you. So you set the alarm right there and give yourself 30 minutes. The moment it's 30 minutes, I will drop this book. Or I would finish all these things that I have to do between 8 and 2. Then from 2, I want to stay on social media for 4 hours. That's my business. But I would finish my work first. So it's scheduling. it's planning, it's being intentional so that we are not taken advantage of. And I'm using social media because I see it's a big challenge. It's such a massive challenge if we're not careful. Oh, we're on WhatsApp status or stories. Rule of thumb for me, I do not look at WhatsApp status. And it's not a bad thing, but because I know I can get addicted, I do not. I post, I post, I post, I post, I go. So when I'm saying, oh, you didn't see it in my status, I don't look at status. If you want to show me something, send it to me. I don't. Because I said, look, I'm already dealing with Instagram. Of course, my LinkedIn, I don't really have a challenge with it. LinkedIn, I post on LinkedIn by myself. I post, I go, I come back in the evening, I look at responses, go to my DM, look at messages that have come in the evenings, and that's it. So I've never really been scrolling a lot on LinkedIn, so it's okay. But Instagram, when we start looking at exercises, different types of squats and no squats, food and no food. Or there are times I'm looking for a particular kind of shoe. You know what I'm talking about. It's hard work, but we have the grace of God to keep us going. We have the grace of God to keep us going. Mommy, I see you. Good morning, ma'am. Why didn't I listen to my mentors? So let's listen to our mentors now. And the mentors, for me, I always say my mentors are not necessarily people that know me. Well, I have mentors in real life that we know we have a mentorship relationship. Then I have mentors like Joseph in the Bible, like King Solomon, like David, who I listen to. So these many of these words here are David speaking to his son, Solomon speaking to his son. Verses 5, 15, and 16. Do you know the saying, drink from your own rain barrel, draw water from your own spring fed well? It's true. Otherwise, you may one day come home and find your barrel empty and your well polluted. Your spring water is for you and you only, not to be passed around among strangers. Bless your fresh flowing fountain. I love the poetry that has come into describing the person you love. Enjoy the wife you married as a young man. Now, this is very specifically talking to young men. Ha ha ha. Was it last year we said, you know what, Proverbs chapters 1 to 30 really are talking to men. My son, my son, my son, my son, my son, my son, my son. Even Proverbs 31 was talking to a man and he was saying, this is the kind of woman you should be with. And then they described the woman. Almost all the chapters were talking to boys, to men, to the son, but we are applying to ourselves, right? Enjoy your wife. Lovely as an angel, beautiful as a rose. Don't ever quit taking delight in her body. Never take her love for granted. Why would you trade enduring intimacies for cheap thrills with the side chick, or dalliance with a promiscuous stranger just because she has busybody? Because if we're not careful, there is the programming that we subconsciously perpetuate, where if we are not careful, we talk with our sons about, what's the word? Well, if you must sleep with her, she's good enough to marry. But the girl, it's no man should see your underwear, else problem. So we're saying to the guy, it's okay, but if something happens, marry her. Sow your wild oats, but do it with a condom. And with the girl, it is, be careful. Don't let any man. There is such a disconnect. Our boys should also be taught chastity, and don't do it at all. Don't go there. No, it's not for you. Else, we are giving them the license to continue the story of, men will see and collect. It's never really about the woman who is being cheated on. It's just a man thing, I beg. It's never anything silly, serious. After all, you are the one who has it. It comes home to you. Be careful that we are not continuing that teaching to our children. If there is a curfew that all the children are home by 6, it is boys and girls, not the girls, please be home at 6. Boys, well, we'll extend yours to 9, boys will be boys. That's where it begins. That's where it begins, that it's okay to have body counts. Oh, for guys, body count doesn't count, but for girls, body count counts. I stumbled on a body count video this year. That was the first time I really heard that phrase, body count. Yes, we've known it's always been there, but now it's such a thing. Those body counts really count. It doesn't count for guys, but it counts for girls. And so it's easier for a guy when he marries to say, well, she's my love, she's my wife, she knows, but this thing is a man's thing. We'll just it's nothing big. No biggie. Wisdom is saying to us who are here, first of all, those of us who are here are actually those who want to do better. So wisdom is saying, please, it's not only detrimental to the body counts, it's detrimental to you. It strips you of something. It leaves you for less than who you should be, who you really are. Because you get to the point where you start taking love for granted. Don't take love for granted. And it's not just to men, it's to all of us. Don't trade enduring intimacies for cheap thrills with strangers. Verses 21 to 23. Mark well that God doesn't miss a move you make. He's aware of every step you take. The shadow of your sin will overtake you. You'll find yourself stumbling all over yourself in the dark. Lord, keep us from dark places. Call your name and say, Joyce, stay away from dark places. When you see that place is dark, block that number. When you see that place is dark, cancel that address. Stay away from dark places. They leave something hanging over you that you don't want. Death is the reward for an undisciplined life. Your foolish decisions trap you in a dead end. I was going to Google the word death, but I decided to wait until we're on the call so we do it together. If my network goes off, please just stay around. It will refresh itself. The permanent ending of vital processes in a cell or tissue, the state of being dead, the action of fact of dying, being killed, the end of life. Death, the end, is the reward for an undisciplined life. Death to relationships, death to business, death to good reasoning, death to good relationships. These deaths can be called different things. They can be called bankruptcy. They can be called divorce. They can be called separation. They can be called there are other names. If I want life and the amazing rewards of life, then discipline is key. Discipline is hard. That's why many of us run away from it, including myself. But then we come back here because this is where we draw strength from and say, today I will stick with the disciplines that will get me to the next level. Today, because I don't want death, I want life. And I want life in abundance. So I don't want to be trapped in running away from death. No, I'd rather be running to life. I want to be trapped in running to life. So I had a conversation yesterday with one of my main guys in my team, and we were drawing that, what do you call it, tunnel vision, where you wear your blinders. Sometimes we are trying to run away from something, but we're not necessarily running towards something. So I'm running away from poverty. I'm running away from the undisciplined life. I'm running away from foolishness. But what am I running toward? So I need to be sure that there is a clear, wiser model, wise frame that I'm running toward. I'm running toward the ability to focus on my business 4 to 5 hours a day before pleasure. So that is the goal. So which block of 4 hours every day am I committing to my business? Which block of 7 hours a day am I committing to my business? I'm committing to blocking off 2 hours every day to self-development. So I'm not running away from indiscipline only. I'm running toward a model. The frame has to be so clear so that there is something to measure. Oh, I'm running away from sickness. I don't want to be sick. But what am I running toward? I'm running toward clear sights, measured, what do you call it, blood pressure, sugar level, all those other things. I'm running to this. And that's why I check where I am per time. That's why I'm checking what is going into my body, because I'm running to this, not just away from. Because the away from sometimes is not strong enough to keep you on the journey when there is no toward. I'm running toward X amount of revenue per annum. I'm running toward X amount of scholarships that I can give to children in my community. I'm running toward this. So those dreams, those goals are clear, even though sometimes we don't achieve them because the mindset to make it happen is not even there. That's why we're in places like this. That's why we join all sorts of coaching programs, training programs, because we need the mind to expand to the point where we can actually achieve these things we're running toward. You cannot put 4 liters in a 75 cl bottle. It will not hold. So where you're running toward might be a 4-liter capacity, but your mind is only 60 cl. So even though you want to get there, you don't have the capacity. And I'm speaking to myself right now. There are things that I have wanted to do. And there are things that I want, but I realize that I have not had the capacity. And that's why I'm going to get trained now so that I can indeed achieve them. That's why dreams take time. The capacity to stay alive, what do we call it? Viable. The capacity for viability for a baby in the womb happens from about 6.5 months, 7 months, 8 months. That's why the child should be in the womb for the full 9 months, as it were, because that's when there is capacity to live, to survive on the child's own. That's when the child's breathing capacity has been fully developed. That's when their digestive capacity has been developed. That's when they can thrive. If the child comes out much earlier, the child's life won't stay, except there might be some connections to some machines that would support him or her until they become stable. Dreams take time because capacity is developed with time. So give yourself grace on your journey to running toward. That's where peace comes from, and peace is important when we give ourselves grace. So today, put on your blinders so that we are able to stay focused on what wisdom is showing us. Let's wear our blinders, put on our earplugs, and stay with wisdom. Now, there is a difference between listening to feedback, and I think somebody else mentioned it here where the person said, was it Kathy on day one, where she said, take the feedback, not how it was said. And I think we also mentioned something like that last year. Feedback will come from now and throughout 2024. Sometimes feedback is not pleasant. Feedback can make us really uncomfortable. But if we look into the heart of feedback, there might be some truth that would help us grow. I like to use the example of some time ago, years ago, when someone said to me, Joyce, you don't let people land. When you're in a group talking with them, you're almost always taking over the conversation. I didn't like the way she said it. I felt it was rude and, it was taking me to the cleaners. The way, the manner, and the time, like, allow other people talk. You just always. But that was feedback. Guess what? That was feedback. And when I had gotten over the pain and got to look at what she said was true. I was in the habit of completing people's sentences. I was in the habit of always taking over conversations because, yes, I would justify it by, well, I had a lot to say. I had read so much. I had done so. I could justify it. But truth be told, it was not a good thing. However, she said it. She said it. And so I began to be so much more conscious that there are times I'm in conversations and it's going on and going on. And even when I'm so tempted, I just go, just leave room for others. So I'm no longer running away from trying to take over. I am now running toward allow others express themselves. So I began to learn the practice of asking questions. Oh, tell me. Oh, really? That happened? Tell me more about that. So I'm tempted to cut in and take over the conversation, but rather it's a question that will come out to allow you speak some more. And guess what? Then I would learn more. You can't learn when you're the one always speaking. So feedback is important to listen for. Sometimes when people will try to help us in 2024, they would say it in ways that would hurt. They will say it in ways that we may not agree with. But if we're able to analyze, there are times, not every time, but there are times that it will make sense. And then we can take the meat and leave the emotions. And then there will be other times that you would know that everything the person said from a good place was just not for you. You will thank them, and then you will leave it right there on the table. There was a time I was giving feedback when I was emceeing an event. I think I've told this story so many times. And just by tea break, the event started at maybe 9, and we're going on tea break before 11. And somebody came to me, one of the organizers of the event, actually. There was a large group of organizers. So one of the organizers came to me and said, "Oh, Joyce, your energy is a little much. We're not really used to this energy of yours. If you can tone it down a little bit so that you don't lose people. This kind of crowd here is used to subtle. You are a bit boisterous." I mean, that threw me off because I had thought I was doing a great job. That was enough to mess my day up. So I left the hall and I went up. It was in a hotel. My room was up there on the 8th floor. I went up to the 8th floor and I remembered the day I was hired for this job, I was told that we need your energy. We find that some people we worked with in the past, they do the job well, but they don't give us the energy that keeps these thousands of people in the hall alert and alive all day. So bring this your energy. We've seen you work with this energy, and it's this energy that we're attracted to. So she's coming, the person who gave me the feedback downstairs is coming from a good place. She just wasn't there when I was hired. And I was told that it is this same energy that was needed. Does that mean I couldn't tone down my energy a bit? No, it just means that I was brought here for my energy. So I said, Joyce, pick up your energy and let's go back into the room and energize the place the way you know how to do best. And I went back with my full energy. I took her feedback and I left it on the table because at that time, that was not necessary for me. That was not the feedback that was going to help me because she was not there when I was told that it is this energy that we need. And the feedback from this happy sheets, those sheets that are filled after the conference, people called me from the committee to say we have never had this high rating for MCs before. In all these years we've been having this event, this is the highest rating we've ever gotten for MCs. That people were like, your energy kept them going start to finish. That was the job. So be careful to strike the balance. Blessed at the balance. Who is it that used to say that? Not, I don't think it's John Maxwell, one of them. Blessed at the balance. So to strike that balance between where am I leaning? So yes, it might be your personality trait, and this somebody comes to give you feedback. No, this is how I am, and then the other time say, okay, yes, this is how I am, but can I also change how I am? Am I a tree? Trees cannot unplant themselves, but humans can. The most trees can do is they will lean toward the sunlight. They will spread their roots toward the water. They even have that much intelligence, right? But humans can change. A human being can completely change her life by making intentional decisions. So we are humans. That's why we are made in the image and likeness. We are the ones that have the capacity to completely rework our lives by level of new understanding, who we associate with, what we eat, what we think, what we do. We can change. So it is not enough to say, well, this is how I've been for the last 40 years. Some of those sayings that you say, you can't learn how to use your left hand in old age. There are those sayings. They're in context. You can learn how to use your left hand in old age if you give it the required amount of time and concentration. You will learn. So let's evolve together. Let's grow together to being wiser. Everything I'm saying here today, I'm preaching to myself first, and I'm glad that you're here joining me. Tomorrow, my sister and my friend Ella Umachi will be here with us, the thought doctor. I will be so delighted to share her with you. Ella has been a blessing to me, and I'll tell us a little bit more about her tomorrow. I wish you the best of days that the Lord Himself will have for you in the name of Jesus Christ. Your word, Lord, is a light, a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. May it cause us to see better this day. May it cause us to see better, do better, hear better in the name of Jesus. Cause us to take better decisions that would be good for us and the people around us, that would allow us to fulfill the mandate of be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue, and have dominion. May we indeed have dominion today, even over our thoughts, dominion over our habits, dominion over our thinking, dominion over our applications, and then dominion in the territories that you have called us to and that you have given us the grace to take. Dominion today in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. I love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wiser day. Bye for now.